You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franson here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. Daliah Saper is the principal attorney and founder at Saper Law, an award-winning intellectual property, social media, entertainment, and business law firm in Chicago. She additionally serves as an adjunct professor at the Loyola University of Chicago School of Law and is regularly interviewed on national television, radio, and several major publications. Hey, Daliah, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm great.
Good, good. Hey, so as I mentioned, you're principal attorney and founder at Saper Law. Tell me a little bit more about the firm and what you guys specialize in.
Well, we are celebrating 18 years in business today. Today's our
Wow.
18th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We focus our practice areas in the areas of intellectual property, entertainment, social media, and business law. And the majority of our clients are either creatives or innovative business organizations that have legal needs that touch on new mediums, the new digital landscape, internet issues. And so our firm gets to be on the cutting edge of new legal issues, new cases, and it makes the practice of law, a little bit more fun.
Sure. Has that been the focus throughout the 18 years?
Yeah, so I started the firm about a year after graduating from law school. So I was in my early 20s when I started the firm. And necessarily, in order to attract clients, the way I set myself apart was to target other 20-somethings, oftentimes who were in the website business at the time or creating businesses that had online storefronts. And at the same time, around the same time, social media started to really permeate, the entire landscape of our existence. I want to be pretty grand, but It was right around the time when, MySpace was transitioning to Friendster, was transitioning to Facebook, and being a user of these platforms, the exact target audience, I positioned myself as someone who also understood the arising or new legal issues around those platforms, and then the rest is history.
Sure. So, from your standpoint as an attorney, how has that world, going from MySpace to where we are now and everything else, how has that world kind of changed, or what would you say? Is it like a completely different world now than it was when you first
Well,
started?
It's changed in that we constantly have to understand the context around, for example, a defamation case. In the past, it was someone published something in the newspaper. Well, publishing something in a newspaper is different than publishing it on a blog, and then explaining to the court what a blog is, and then explaining what a Snapchat is, and then explaining, how a viral video might be worse than even just a newspaper. And so it's not so much that the laws have changed, but the application of the context in which these problems arise changes. And we as a society, and now you mentioned AI prior to our interview, is just as a society, how are we adapting and assessing what is the appropriate legal recourse when something goes wrong in these new places, in these new mediums?
Yeah. What does Saper Law do to keep up with kind of the rapidly changing developments in the world of AI, and how does that benefit your clients or potential clients?
Twofold. One is we try to provide educational seminars on a regular basis, but it's kind of chicken before the egg. Or, we usually get a case or a question from a client that's in the space that necessitates us doing the homework or understanding some new aspect of technology or the law. And then in the process of presenting that information to our clients, maybe as part of a seminar or as part of a panel for a different organization, we double down on our expertise in that space. With the big disclaimer that there is no one who can be an expert in these areas because, quite frankly, no one knows what the answers are. They're still emerging areas of law. All we can try to do is be one of the first to tackle those issues.
How and when did you know you wanted to become an attorney?
Well, I was a debate nerd in high school. I was a policy debater. And I always thought that if I wasn't a lawyer, then I would certainly be some sort of journalist or in the or in the ad space. My degree was in online, not online. My degree was in marketing and business administration, and my undergraduate studies were focused on being in the advertising world. So when I graduated, I went straight through to law school. I said, what's the best way to marry both of those interests? Why not be an IP lawyer dealing with trademarks and advertising campaigns and counseling clients on entertainment law issues? So I think it's the perfect profession for me. It allows me to write, read, and engage with really interesting clients, people.
Sure. And are those debate skills that you had in high school still benefiting you?
Sure. I'd say what's even better is the improv group I joined in college and the ability to kind of think quickly on your feet and come up with answers or responses to tricky situations. But I run a summer legal camp that since that's the 10th year we've run that program. And we bring in a slew of high school students to learn about the practice of law. And that's one of the first things I tell them is join as many groups and activities that allow you to present on topics and engage with people and sharpen your writing skills. And those are, of course, super important for at least the areas of law I practice.
Sure, absolutely. So, how did you get? You said you started your firm a year after you graduated law school. How did you get started in the year prior?
Well, a series of events. One is that I had a summer associateship at a bigger IP firm in town. And due to the demographics of our class and my lack of a science background, a third of our class did not return, was not asked to come back. So it changed the trajectory of my kind of law school career, where I had anticipated getting a big firm job and rising up the ranks in a bigger law firm. So when that didn't happen, it required me to pivot. And I ended up reconnecting with a friend I had known from undergrad. And she had a fashion production business. So our third year of law school, we ran this company. And it was exhilarating and frustrating, but taught me the trials and tribulations of running a small business, all the while still, of course, completing my third year of law school. So what the plan had been was to take this pivot and run this business, but we ended up disagreeing with how to run that business. And so like many businesses, we broke up. And I accepted a position instead at a solo small firm where I was the second lawyer and the only other lawyer in the firm. And that was really an intensive boot camp. I did it for about 8, 9 months. And that entrepreneurial itch was still there. And so I said, look, I want to run a business. I might as well be a lawyer and run that kind of a business. And so on June 8th, 2005, I left and opened Saper Law. And then and the firm has grown organically since.
Yeah, wow, good for you. So, were you? I talked to a lot of people who have a little bit of a background before they open their own firm, and then things go well. But you did it relatively early compared to the other people I talked to. Do you think that entrepreneurship experience really helped you? And what else helped you? Just in being a maybe, maybe not quite as
I
seasoned
think I
lawyer
think
as
if it's
others.
if it's something you're contemplating doing, the sooner you rip the Band-Aid, the better. It just
Hmm.
gets exponentially harder to start a business or a law firm when you have other obligations, family, children. When I started the firm, I had nothing to lose. I had no children, no family, no debt. And that's important because I came out of law. I graduated a year early from law school and I went straight through. So I also had kind of a year extra, if you're counting,
Hmm.
to play around with. Most of my peers still had were a year older than me at least or more. And also I was a TA and I taught speech comm as a law student to the undergraduates, which paid for my tuition. And between that and my big firm summer gig, I did not have any debt to pay off. And so it allowed me to take that risk. But people always think that starting a law firm requires an IT department and infrastructure and a lot of things and I always tell them you really just need your law degree and a computer and and that's it. And clients, and that makes a law firm. So yeah, I think the answer is if you're going to do it quickly, and don't be afraid.
Sure, great. So what were the early days there like? How did you go about getting clients? How did you kind of get the ball rolling?
I think it was important to know what your strengths are so you know what kind of clients you can attract, and also to understand what you like to do. I know a lot of people hang their shingle and like, I'll take whatever comes in the door. For me, that wasn't the way to start. I think you have to know your limitations, know your background. I did have some experience in the IP space and the general litigation space. And I started to think about who I wanted to have as clients and started to go to as many events as possible so that the world knew that I existed. In combination with the website and living on Craigslist to barter services, legal services for website development or anything else that I could find, really bootstrapping it. So for me, I started by identifying one, who did I want to attract as clients, two, going to as many events as possible, and three, trying to utilize the very things I promoted, being in social media and my website, to attract new business.
When you expanded beyond just being a solo entrepreneur, who was the first person you added, or the first position you added as part of the firm?
So I used a lot of independent contractors for a long time until I had my first child back in 2010. And that's when it became a little harder to rely and manage all the independent contractors. And I said, I really need someone who's an employee whose focus and time is going to be devoted to my firm. And it was pretty natural. I had one contractor that had been spending a lot of time and doing a lot of work. And so he was the first official employee. And then I added another employee, as the firm grew and the work expanded, I was less afraid to hire the second employee than I was the
Yeah.
first. But yeah, the answer is kind of those like life triggering events kind of force that, like I can't control everything. I need help. That's when I got the first employee.
Did you use independent contractors then from day one, or were you just rolling solo for a while?
Um, I don't know, but day one, I mean, you have to have enough business to have a contractor. So I would say more like in after the first year when
Hmm.
I just wanted the benefit of, it's a balance trying to spend time marketing versus doing the work versus collecting and versus, so you have to be a good lawyer and you have to make sure you get people to buy your legal services and then collect on those legal services. So I knew from an early time frame that for me, I can't do it all alone. And so I think I started using contractors um, in the beginning, but of course, the more sophisticated the work has gotten, the harder it is to outsource to a contractor.
Sure. What would you say are some significant moments of success, or milestones maybe in your journey as a firm?
Hmm. Um, Significant one would be the nature of cases. So one that got a lot of attention was, where do I even begin? I'd say the first one was when I started to get on television. That was exciting. Producers found me based on the cases that I had been handling and asked me to opine on a variety of tech and media issues. So that first gig was pretty exciting. And then the ones that got bigger and better, where they do your makeup and tell you to go on set, that was super exciting. Next stage would have been taking a case to the Illinois Supreme Court. That's a big deal. So getting to go and argue before the Illinois Supreme Court professionally was a big deal. Getting invited to join kind of exclusive organizations. One is the internet. There's an internet law group that I'm in that's comprised of kind of only a handful of leaders in the space. They asked me to be part of that group. That felt good. And just these yearly milestones. I'd say every year we're still in business, like today, 18. It's exciting that this little kind of thrown together law firm I thought would be a fun experiment has actually survived and is still a thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. So, as you kind of maybe take a bird's eye view of the last 18 years, what are you most proud of?
Wow. Um, Most proud of the people's careers I've launched having come through this firm. We have a robust clerkship program, and I don't know, hundreds of law students in recent grads have come through these doors, and they have gone on to do some pretty cool things. Uh, I have French interns who send me postcards from France. One ended up working at Louboutin, so I get cool swag from her. The network, I'd say the most part of the network I've built via both mentorship and being a mentee of other attorneys. The people I know now because I've been in this business for 18 years.
What makes kind of this element of the law particularly appealing to you?
Oh, it's super fun. Who doesn't want to go to art shows and film screenings and get cool clothes and learn about the latest tech and the new technology. It's our firm motto is be cool by association. So if I wasn't a lawyer, I would try to be running one of these really cool businesses. And so that's the best part, I think, about being this type of lawyer, having these kinds of cases.
Yeah, sure. Were you ever in any danger, for lack of a better word, of maybe going down a certain road of law that would be less fun?
Huh. Well, the perk of having your own firm is you can choose what you do. When I first started, I started doing a few real estate transactions and quickly realized that was not fun and not for me. So I'd say no, I've been pretty lucky in that I've been fairly good at weeding out what is and isn't interesting. Of course, not even the interesting things are boring, right? Like you might have a really
Mhm.
cool. We just did a contract for an up and coming rapper who's got 1 million views, listens on Spotify. But the deal was, very a lot of minutia and contractual terms that were kind of dense. So that's not fun, but it's cool in that you're helping an up and coming rap star
Sure,
develop
absolutely.
her.
I have one more. I have one or two more questions for you, but first, tell me how people can find out more about Saper Law.
We are everywhere online, but the website's the great starting point. The website is saperlaw.com, and we have the same at Saper Law handle on Instagram and all the socials.
How did your role as an adjunct professor at Loyola University Chicago School of Law come about, and what do you enjoy most about it?
Oh, okay. I'm actually submitting grades for this semester also today. They came about when I teach it with another professor, Tim Epstein. He does the sports part and I do the entertainment part. And I think he had been asked to bring on someone and asked me. We went to law school together. So
Hmm.
that was 14 years ago. And another way that I keep up to date with interesting cases is if I'm teaching that class, I need to know what the latest and greatest IP, social media, entertainment law cases.
Hmm. How much time does that take out of your kind of week?
It's not much now. I've done it 14 years in a row, but I teach once a week for the spring semester.
Last question then. As you see these kind of emerging attorneys come out of law school, what is one thing that maybe you might wish you knew when you were there, or when you were at their stage, or maybe just some advice that you've learned along the way?
You really have to like the people you're working with. So when you might be desperate to get a job, and sometimes it doesn't even matter what the legal work is if the people you're doing the legal work with are great. So I would say do your homework and make sure there's a personality fit for the people you're working with and for. Then is know your own limitations. If you are truly grossed out by medical, information and documents, don't accept that personal injury job or medical malpractice job just because you want to have a job. You will not succeed. You will be upset. Either you might succeed professionally, but you won't be happy. So it's kind of a combination of really know your strengths, try to pick an area of law that you do find interesting, that you think you can flourish in. Maybe it's the subject matter or the way you practice, litigator versus transactional lawyer. Um, and and don't feel stuck. If you do make the wrong decision, don't feel like you have to stay there for years. The longer you stay in the wrong place, the harder it will be to make a transition to the right place.
All right. Hey, great advice. Hey, Dahlia, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time today and for all of your insights. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks again for having me, Chad.
So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.